This video is sponsored by Sovereign Syndicate, a new Victorian steampunk CRPG from Crimson Herring Studio where your successes and failures are decided with tarot cards instead of dice. Fight, talk, and deduce your way through the dark underbelly of this fantastical take on Victorian London. Use your investigative skills to untangle the web of mysterious disappearances and nefarious cults across brothels, opium dens. I'm thinking we'll even find an abandoned Radio Shack. And instead of rolling a d20, the fortunes of your skill checks rely on the favor of the innovative tarot card chance system. What will the fates have in store for you? Sovereign Syndicate is available now to scratch that CRPG itch on PC via Steam and GOG.
Are we live?
There we go.
Oh, hello, everyone. Welcome to Second Wind's Firelink podcast, episode number 6 for Wednesday, January 17th, 2024. My name is Marty Sliva. I'm joined by KC Nwosu, Nick Calandra, and our wonderful producer, Eric. Welcome, guys.
Hello.
Hey.
We have a good one. Most of the times, I'm gonna be honest, a bad one. We've had like six or seven bad ones in a row. This one, though, this one's a good one. You see our main topic here. We're gonna be talking about the past, present, and future of physical games, of preservation, of the ongoing decline of physical media. But some of the folks who are trying to keep that alive, whether we try to keep that alive or if we've just embraced our deep, dark, all-digital future. And then a couple news bits, including a couple lawsuits that are going around. And I'm going to be honest, some of them are very silly. Some of them are very, could potentially be big. And then I put together a little list. Marty's top 5 video game lawsuits ever. And let me tell you, I got some good ones. Good ones.
That actually sounds very...
I prepared a little subsection. Look at that. Look at us. And I even hid it from the main doc. You guys don't even know.
I did notice
this
that.
This is a surprise.
Yeah. You're not going to know. And welcome everyone watching live over in YouTube, everyone listening afterwards on Spotify and your favorite podcast services. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. Seeing so many members of the Green Gang. So many familiar faces who support us over on Patreon. We are self-funded, so every little bit helps so much, including your super chats and donos, which we read out during the show. And Koshiro 2K3, thank you so much for joining the Green Gang. Koshiro 2K3, Brian Urlacher was on the cover of NFL 2K3. Do you think there's a coincidence there?
Yeah, that's a name I have not heard in a long time.
Yeah, what's Urlacher up to nowadays?
I think he became crazy right wing, so it's probably best not to think about what Brian Urlacher. Incredible linebacker, though. Let me tell you, holy moly! And then Jewel Rao with a £5 dono. Thank you so much, Jewel Rao. I gifted the wrong amount. Well, Marty's an entertaining host for the podcast and Slight Something Else and BO Body Breakout. I was like, I thought you just said I have BO. Incredibly rude. Jewel, thank you so much. You deserve a smooch or a pat on the back if you like. Thank you so much. I'll take both. Appreciate it, Jewel.
Well deserved.
Thank you, Jewel, and thank you, Casey, and I guess also thank you, Nick. You're doing great too. You had to do some changes behind the scenes, but we appreciate that.
Haven't done any soundboards yet.
I will literally leave and just not come back. Like that is not. I'm putting it here. I will leave and not come back. I will gladly come back the next week, but like legitimately, if sound plays up. Yeah. So which is fine.
Push you all the way into a new week.
You're just gonna have to go without ever hearing Marty's top 5 video game lawsuits. How are you guys doing?
I feel like I could use, like, if you make a opinion about Halo I just don't like, I could just use the soundboard and get you out of here.
But at what cost, Nick?
At the cost of saving my Halo opinions.
I wouldn't think that would be worth it. Like, also, basically,
you haven't even had positive Halo opinions.
Yeah, but you can't have bad Halo opinions.
Nick, have you gotten like Paramount Plus pilled by the images of Halo Season 2?
There's some good images.
No.
So I wouldn't be.
Except when he has his helmet off and he just looks mean. I'm like, put your helmet back on, dog.
Have you ever seen like those kind of like forced, like they'll force the camera through Master Chief's helmet so you can look at like the model for the face in there, and it's kind of this ghostly white-eyed kind of alien-looking dude in there.
Yeah, what's going on in there?
Pretty cool.
It looks like Darth Vader.
Yeah, he is a little bit. He's a little bit like Vader.
Remember, like I remember
early days of Halo, everybody's like, I want to see his face, and they would try to no clip through the screen to like see his face and see who's under that mask. And now that they see his mask, they're like, no, please put it back.
Put it back. We made a mistake. We as a
And
society
those
didn't know what
want
we
to
had.
open.
Which is funny
We
because
should
for the
post this.
Not only did
Mandalorian,
you get his face, you got his ass cheeks too.
for the Mandalorian, all I want is for him to take his helmet off because I'm like, I want to see Pedro Pascal. I don't want to see the dumb Boba Fett helmet in a different color.
No, I think they did good with that by kind of saving it for like a little special occasion. Like I didn't mind him having it on for most of that. I thought it worked well.
That's how you save money by not having Pedro Pascal on set. He could just show up to the recording booth and then he could show up for the finale. So I don't abide by that one.
I mean, as long as he get paid.
Exactly. Oh yeah, he's fine. True Mando, welcome to Tip Jar. Thank you so much, True Mando. He's apparently going to be. He's Mr. Fantastic. Mr. Fantastic. Joel Miller.
Bad choice.
Your Mandalorian's gonna be Mr. Fantastic.
Pedro Pascal. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
I think that's a bad choice.
really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Pedro Pascal is great, and Mr. Fantastic is a ass character, so they don't mesh.
Maybe he could play off type. Maybe he could be like real snarky, a real snark bomb.
Fantastic Four are just the corniest superheroes ever conceived. They're just so terrible.
You know what?
But
Can't spell
that's a
family
me
without
thing.
four.
Hey, John Krasinski gets his ass whooped in whatever Marvel movie
Yeah,
that
that
was.
did not help their case at all.
Which
We got
Marvel
turned
movie
into-
was that? Oh, Multiverse of
Multiverse of
Madness.
Madness.
He just gets straight up murdered.
Yeah, you got turned into spaghetti. You got turned into a big old
That's the only
spaghetti
exciting
pile.
part of that movie.
Yeah. You guys want to talk about some lawsuits?
Yes, I've been waiting for
Oh
this.
my gosh, my golly. This has been a week of some lawsuits. There was also a story, I didn't put it on here, but right beforehand, there's a new milestone was hit in the Epic Apple suit. I don't know, did you guys read anything about that? I didn't actually
I've
prepare for that one.
seen large corporation wants other large corporation to pay them a lot of money, and I just kind of didn't care after that.
That's Godzilla vs. Kong, let them fight kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
that's-
this one I missed. I didn't hear about this one.
Yeah, that one's sort of the one we don't have any details on. But the big one this week that kind of sparked this topic was the news that Take-Two Interactive, the publisher behind the Grand Theft Auto games, is suing Remedy for copyright infringement, claiming that Remedy's new logo that they debuted, I believe, early in 2023, is too similar to Rockstar's logo, which are just ours. It's
You know whose
slightly
logo's even
fancy.
closer to that?
Rockstar,
Rockstar's
the
logo?
energy drink?
No, well that, but
Oh.
also Rare. Both gold R's.
Yeah, you think they want to sue Donkey Kong?
Why are you
They're not gonna
going
deal with
after
that.
Remedy? Their logo looks completely different.
The logo does look completely different.
It's dumb.
You
Also,
can't
the
sue-
funniest part about this is that like they're literally partnered with Take-Two to remake Max Payne 1 and
Yeah.
2. Like, what
So-
the fuck are you doing?
That's the awkward thing, and Take-Two has been notoriously litigious on small things like this. If you guys remember, a couple of years ago, they forced Hazelight, Joseph Fares'
Yeah.
studio behind It Takes Two, to abandon the trademark of It Takes Two because it had the word "takes two" in it, which just seems nuts. And I also don't know what that means if you abandon the trademark. Like, he's still making money off that game, right? Like, I don't.
Well, I
don't-
guess they can't. I guess they
Continue?
can't say that the title is something that they came up with or something
Gotcha. Yeah.
because I guess Rockstar already had it. But like, yeah, it's weird that because like when Nintendo does this sort of thing, it's usually because someone is using something that can be traced directly back to Nintendo,
Mhm.
right? But Take-Two is doing this because it's stuff that could maybe possibly remind you of them, and like that seems so nebulous. Like, is that a thing that has happened, or is that a thing that causes a company damage if it does happen? Like, if I mistake this logo for that logo, like, is that actionable really?
I mean, there's enough studios that I get the names confused of. Like, there's like several avalanches.
Yeah.
Which one are we
Studios,
talking?
Avalanche Software.
Yeah, like which one are you talking? Monolith. There's two monoliths, I believe. There's the Japanese monolith and the U.S. monolith. So there's not enough trouble there, and it's just it again, like Nick said, though, it's ultra strange that they are literally partnering. Like, the Max Payne franchise is Rockstar and Remedy. Like, that's who made that franchise, and Remedy is going back and partnering with them to remake one. It's just very strange. Like, I imagine like none of the actual creative. This isn't like a thing where there's like beef between the studios. It's probably just like the
Lawyers.
Take-Two lawyers are probably on like
Yeah.
a different plane of existence.
Here's my hot take on this. I don't like Remedy's new logo at all. They should just
Neither
switch
do
back
I.
to the old one. So, if this forces
I think
that,
the old one
great.
is also bad.
I think so too. I think they could
At
have
least
done
I can
better.
understand what it is. Remedy has one R in it. What is this?
It's also funny because it's like, yeah, their
R.
logo is like a couple
It's
R's
it's
in
a
a row.
ripple.
because
remedy.
It's a
remedy.
it's the start of their new rap song.
Scooby-Doo saying
Lady Gaga's coming after them next.
it's I do agree. Oh, I kind of want to do this. I can't think of it on the fly. I want to think of like the best and worst company logos. Like, is there like a
Man.
I
That's
like
a good
the
question though.
I mean, I like simplicity in my logos. I like cleanliness and simplicity. Not cleanliness as in like the logo washing its asshole, but like make sure you wash every bend of the letters. That's where all the dirt and sweat
I don't know if we have room on this because a lot of people look at our logo and see a chicken and not a phoenix. So
we embrace the chicken though.
Yeah.
Listen, I did like our old breakout logo, so I did 100 episodes of that show. So you just eventually you just learn to deal with it. You just stop caring. So a couple of the other sort of litigious things going on this week. One is the potential, which Palworld releases tomorrow, I guess, to everyone in early access on PC, on Game Pass, on Xbox, and all that jazz. Palworld is the Pokemon-like game that is ostensibly Pokemon with guns, which is how it's been dubbed before it came out. We did a 2-hour stream the other day with Frost. It is much more of a crafting game with a little sprinkle of Pokemon, but it also has that little sprinkle of Pokemon is the exact flavor of Pokemon where you're like, that sheep, I know that sheep because I caught him in Pokemon. Like, that's Wooloo. That's a real Pokemon.
Yeah, that big electric guy looks just like the big electric thing that is like the first one in
like
Pokemon.
Buzz, and it's so there's when we were on the stream yesterday, there was an immediate, everyone was saying, it's like Nintendo's going to sue them. Nintendo, who is notoriously litigious and notoriously goes after anyone who's trying to hold a tournament with their games or trying to like mod games that are 30 years old. So do you see like Nintendo going after this, or do you think Palworld's going to be fine because it's cribbing from enough things to where it's different?
Here's what I want somebody to do. Maybe we do it. Put the creatures in this game side by side with Pokemon Coliseum and see if you can notice a difference. Because that's the only Pokemon game I can think of that's like full 3D. I mean, obviously the new Pokemon games are 3D too, but like that, these creature designs look very every time I see this, I'm reminded of like a little bit more fancy designs of Coliseum.
This is just a GameCube game. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's just a big open world GameCube game. If this was more like a GameCube game, I'd be excited. But I'm gonna be honest. 2 hours watching Frost play that game, and my takeaway was, I don't want to play this.
Yep, that was me too.
Yeah, I was a little upset to see the amount of like crafting in it. But I also didn't see any or most of the stuff that was in the trailer that looked fun that I wanted to do in it until he did like that one boss fight, which I actually thought looked pretty fun. So like I'm still a little intrigued. I might still jump into it and give it more than 2 hours and see if it kind of gets good. But in terms of the
Game Pass, so easy.
Yeah, right. I'm waiting for the Game Pass drop. So in regards to the suit thing, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but when this first like became like kind of a viral thing, was it not just a weird mod that had actual Pokemon characters in it?
No, like this was revealed as like a full game, and everybody was like, "This looks exactly like Pokemon," and then it's like, "Oh, it's called Palworld," and everybody's like, "Huh?" Interestingly, like I was talking about this I think you and I talked about it. Like their other game, Craftopia, almost looks. I didn't realize like how similar that looked to Breath of the Wild until I've like looked at the most recent trailers for it. So it seems like their thing is build game that looks very similar to thing and make it just slightly different enough to not get in legal damage.
Or maybe Nintendo's still busy suing Craftopia. And they're like, shit, they already on the next one?
Yeah, I don't know. This is I mean, they can't really sue the game. I'm curious like how they would sue the creature design. If they did go after, I think it would just be for the creature designs only. Because there's tons of Pokemon likes now.
Yeah, it would have to be like exact for them to get something off the ground with that, right? Because otherwise, it's just a weird monster. Like Nintendo
and as
crazy
we said,
creatures.
we can't. Yeah, and as we've proven, you can't. Well, we didn't prove it, but have demonstrated you can't sue an art style.
Yeah, I mean, they don't really have a case with that. Like it's a very different game, so like they wouldn't have a case with that. And if they did have any semblance of a case, like this was revealed more than 2 years ago. Like Nintendo would have got on it. Like their lawyers don't sleep.
Yeah.
Well, the
Yeah.
only thing it takes is like one fully copy pasted over design.
Mm.
So that's what I'm curious. Like when people
I
actually have
imagine
access
everyone
to the full
knows how
game.
litigious Nintendo is, so they probably know, like, oh, this is how close to the line I can walk without going over.
Yeah, I bet they have lawyers on board.
Yeah. Speaking of Nintendo, the other again, just a weird week that had a couple of these stories, but Jack actually brought this up in a meeting in a call earlier today, and I didn't know about this, but a guy was demaking Portal in sort of the vein of an N64 game, but not just like, hey, I'm going to take Portal and make it look like an N64 game. Took Portal and demade it to where it would run on Nintendo 64 hardware using assets that had already been created, some assets that had already been created for Nintendo 64. And he's been doing this for years. And if you watch the videos, I linked to it in the chat, the videos are crazy impressive because it is Portal in an N64, but it is like one of the best looking N64 games. Turns out he was using those Nintendo assets, like official Nintendo library stuff, and Valve came to him and was like, we need you to stop doing this because you're going to get us in trouble.
Yeah.
So Valve wasn't like, you can't do this with Portal. They were fine with the Portal part of it, but they were like, we don't want that Nintendo heat on us. So please, you gotta stop this. The guy complied with it. Yeah, the guy complied with it. Like if he had just, again, not used like the actual copywritten assets that Nintendo had, I think he would have been fine. But when people found out about that, it was like, well, we can't be doing that, which kind of sucks.
Yeah.
It's like Nintendo's not doing anything with this. Like, what are they doing with? They're releasing one N64 online game every 6 months. So it'll be like, here's 1080 snowboarding. I'm like, fuck off, Nintendo. I don't even know why.
1080
Somebody just mentioned in chat, but like Dolphin tried to release on Steam as like a package that you could just download directly from Steam, and they very quickly had to get rid of that from Steam too because Nintendo was like, "Hey,
yes, understand? Yeah, no, this emulator, I'm using it for others. No, you're not. You're not using it for that. You're using it for Mario Sunshine. I know what you're stealing. I know everything you're stealing. Yeah. What do you like when you see a company like Nintendo that is like real, like not gun shy at all, and has a real itchy trigger finger when it comes to these kinds of things? Like, what do you think? Does that anger you? Do you think like the company's in its right to sort of protect its IP? Like, is there any bearing on this and the like AI art conversation? Like, is there any link there?
It's a slippery slope. I mean, like we deal with it all the time in what we do with content creation, where people like try to imitate Yahtzee, right? And like we got to take those down every once in a while, unless we say like this is okay or whatever. But I think it's I don't know. I like the logo thing is stupid. I think that's stupid. But in general, like I as much as like Nintendo annoys everybody with their protection, like you can't copy their shit, and like you're not going to get away with it, kind of thing. And like content creators, for the most part, also wish we had more protections of people like just lifting our content and using it for their videos, like that. Remember that community like 3 years ago I got into it with the Doctor Who community, that crazy kid on Twitter, YouTube, that basically like took Darren's article, read it word for word, didn't commentate on it all. He's like, I'm not plagiarizing, you're an asshole. And I'm like, you plagiarize our content, I'm coming after you. Like,
yeah, the like Nintendo in particular, like people do test them. Like they will break the law by just straight up using Nintendo stuff, or like they'll make actual Pokemon games and call it Pokemon Acid or something, right? And like it's because they're trying to piggyback off of the brand recognition, and like you just can't do that. And either they don't understand that, or like they don't care. But either way, Nintendo's going to come for that ass when you try that sort of nonsense. But like in other cases, they very much just overreach, and like I don't know why. Like, I guess maybe lawyers in general, especially for big companies like that, they kind of have to justify their position. So like if you go too long where they're just not doing anything, maybe they start getting laid off or fired. So like they just are always on the hunt for stuff to be litigious about when you're that big. So like, yeah, it's like, okay, so this is a good use of protecting your copyright, or like a sensible use of protecting your copyright at the very least. And then these other ones are just like, we got to justify our paychecks. So like they just stir up shit for no reason.
And I know some people in chat are talking about like, games that aren't accessible anymore, and like that's a different conversation, I think, than actually using the assets of something that exists to create something that is supposedly your own. Because yeah, I mean that's the whole dumb thing about AI art right now is like that guy I called out the other day was like, I made a movie using AI art, and I'm like, you didn't make anything. He didn't. And then people were like, well, he edited it together, so that's just as creative as anything you guys do. And I'm like, no, sorry.
Like,
Yeah, I
like,
don't know. It's
like,
hard, like like the anti. Obviously, like and now I didn't used to be like full anti-corporate after working in corporate for 5 years. Now I'm definitely anti-corporate, but I don't know. I can't really be mad at Nintendo for protecting their properties in the way that they do.
yeah, like like I said, like there are instances where they kind of need to do that because people do push the envelope.
Yeah. I mean, I am glad that there's a certain, and granted, I don't think fan translations are illegal. At least I've never heard of a fan translation being taken down. But like Mother 3 famously has the fan translation by the Earthbound community and Clyde Mandolin. That is the only way anyone who doesn't speak Japanese was able to actually experience that game, myself included. And you had to download a ROM of that game because that's how you connected to it. And that game was never available in.
Like, was that
anywhere.
something Nintendo actively tried to like put a stop to? Like, did they fight
They
against that?
didn't,
Or
as far as I know. No, and I've never. That's the thing is I've never heard of. I think maybe translations just aren't like lawsuitable. Because you aren't all you are doing is like selling like text files and stuff. Which is there's this other translator, this current translator named Hilltop who has a Patreon. Who I think I've talked about this before, but he just translates old like PS1 and PS2 games that never got put in English, like an old Square Enix game called Racing Lagoon, a game called Dr. Slump, which is based on like the Akira Toriyama manga. He did Boko no Natsuyasuma lately, and then he just announced a new one. He's doing like another PS2 RPG that never came to the States. So it's just cool that, and he has a Patreon, so he's making money off this. But it's like really,
so you get in that gray area.
That is where you get in that gray area, yeah. But like,
well, I
also
mean,
like
if he's just doing the translation and then someone else is putting it in their modded game, then like he's not doing anything, right?
that's
He's just
the
made a
emulator thing, where like an
but that's
emulator isn't illegal.
Yeah, but that's the gray
ROM
area where
is.
like he is profiting off of the work that he's doing for something that he doesn't own. So that's where like the Patreon gets into that gray area. That's like people that run Patrons for mods are in a really gray area of like you can't charge for mods on Skyrim or something like that, right? I mean, I think now you can with their creator thing or whatever, but like in general, modding, you can't really charge for the mods that you make in a game. So they go to Patreon to basically say, well, you're just tipping me for what I'm doing. And that's where like a lot of these companies like legally like can't really like say that they're directly profiting off the mods that they're making. But
that's actually very interesting because now it makes it feel like you should be able to charge for a mod then, since like you're making it as like an add-on or like you're attaching it to another separate thing, but you're
using the
not
assets that
selling
already
that
exist
thing.
that they created though.
Well, yeah, sure, okay, that's a problem. Like
Yeah.
I guess the stipulation would be you'd have to make your own
Like,
assets, whatever.
yeah, the interesting ones, like in obviously there's no like Bethesda's like super friendly to modders and everything and heavily supports them, but like these fan expansions to Fallout, like Fallout London, just got a release date, and like Fallout Cascadia and all that. These are like almost full games built around Fallout that are free to download. They might be making some money off Patreon or whatever for creating them, but like I don't know, like I've always found that interest. Like it's a little bit of a tangent on this, but like why spend all that time making that stuff if you can't make money off of it? I guess for long-term picture of getting a job as a developer or something like that, your portfolio work. But yeah, like I don't know, you put that much work into these fan expansions, like why don't companies support them monetarily and like help them get these things made and make a buck off it, kind of thing?
I feel
I
like
mean,
that's
some
when like
do.
layers. Yeah, that is true. But that's when you start getting like the layers of bureaucracy of like, oh, we'll fund this a little bit, but also we kind of get a say in this, and so this X, Y, and Z is going to change, and so it's almost like there's something pure about it when it's not done for money. And as soon as money gets involved, which again, people should be paid for their work, that's when the purity kind of goes away.
And then the Fortnite creation tools come in now, and now they are bridging that gap, that exact gap.
Yeah. Same with Roblox.
That's the thing that makes Roblox so freaking disgusting is that they from the beginning they were like, we're gonna mine these children.
And that's, but now, you know how much worse that's going to get? Like, that's where Lethal Company came from. That guy was a robot, like a Roblox community dev. And then he made Lethal Company and fucking made dozens of millions of dollars $50 million in a few months last year. So,
I mean, I like the idea of it being a way to teach kids game design. Like that was always like kind of the coolest thing of that sort of creation tool set. But like very early on, like it was used for the purposes of trying to like game the system. Like we're gonna make shitty microtransaction filled weird like crypto mining experiences, and like kids and adults fully took advantage of that sort of thing. And that just made it real nasty. Like I like the fact that someone left it in order to like make his money. Like, all right, this taught me something, and I'm gonna just take it and put it with my own assets into a different thing. So
yeah,
that's kind of a success story. I get it.
Yeah, to kind of get out of that ecosystem. But yeah. True Mando, welcome to Tip Jar. Dead Forge as well, welcome to Tip Jar. And Jewel Rao, thank you so much for the €2 donos. €2 for the excellent Divinity 2 documentary, Nick.
Hey. Yeah.
Look at that. Old school. Only 90s kids remember your Divinity 2.
Actually, my documentaries are spread across 3 channels.
They're everywhere.
They're everywhere.
Yeah, just like our
I just don't own any of them anymore.
I just don't own any of
them. Every Devil May Cry game on a different channel.
I hate that I don't own my documentaries.
Before we go to, you can own them if they're on physical. But before we get there, before we get to the future of physical media, can I give you guys my top 5 video game lawsuits of all time?
Yes.
I don't have any OLIs, no outside looking in.
Can I guess? I think I can guess either the number one.
You could probably guess number 1.
But I don't want to ruin it in case no one else.
Okay.
So
we'll just lock in mentally.
I'm gonna write it down.
Lock in what you think number 1 is. Number 5, a man named Uri Geller versus Nintendo. This isn't the first time. This isn't the last time we're going to see Nintendo on this list. Uri Geller, who was an illusionist who specialized in telepathy, psychokinesis, and spoon bending, sued Nintendo and the Pokemon Company over the Pokemon Kadabra.
Oh, no. I remember this
because he is a psychic. His whole thing is the bent spoon. But also in Japan, his name is Younger, which is just this man's name. So they clearly did name him after this man and take his spoon bending things. And he was kind of famous. He was like TV famous. He like Michael Jackson was the best man at his wedding, which isn't, that's whatever. But that's how famous he was. That Michael Jackson was the best man at his wedding.
He's a big magician fan, I guess. That tracks for Michael Jackson, honestly.
So after this, Nintendo, they were like, all right, we're just not going to have a Kadabra card anymore. They removed the card specifically from the trading card game until 2020. And then he said, you know what? I have grandkids right now and they keep bugging me about it. I see it as an honor. You could just do it again. So the power of future generations. They were like, Grandpa, every time we go to school, kids make fun of us because you took Kadabra away from them. So that one, a nice little happy ending. Another pretty funny ending. Number 4, The Romantics versus Activision. The Romantics, a band. You might not know their name. One hit wonder. What I Like About You. Everyone knows the song What I Like About You.
Yeah.
Activision came to them for Guitar Hero Encore. And they said, can we have your song in Guitar Hero Encore? And they said, yeah, it needs to be a cover version. And Activision were like, totally. We have some of our songs are covers. That's totally fine. We could do that. Game comes out. The Romantics are like, you used our version. And Activision was like, no, we didn't. This is the cover band. This is them playing the music. And they said, this sounds too much like us. Yeah. You need to pay us money. And Activision was like, that's what a cover band did their job if they sound like you. That is like literally what they were supposed to do. And Activision won.
Yeah. I mean, all they had to do was prove that this band did the recording, right?
Yeah, they were just like, they sound like you because they did a good job. Also, your song's famous because it's catchy. It's not famous because it's like, I can't believe anyone was able to play those notes of what I like about you.
Did they not know what a cover band was when they told them put a cover band in the game?
I do like your cover's too real. Like you made a shadow band that's just us.
They'd go to a bar and be like, are we up there?
Yeah, is this happening?
I'm drunk.
Is that us? No, sir. You are literally sitting down right now. That is
Oh.
not you. That's
Oh,
not
it
how
gets
the
me.
world works. That's not how the world works.
Wow.
Number
Incredible.
number three video game lawsuit of all time: Tim Langdell versus Edge. Tim Langdell.
The
He's this
magazine?
he's a little shit man. I don't like this man. I only found out about him today, but I don't like him. He started a game studio that just churned out shovelware named Edge, and he became a copyright squatter for the word Edge. There was a mobile game in 2009 that came out, a puzzle game. People loved it, called Edge. He sued them. They took it off the store. This game had to be removed from the store. He is credited as the reason Soul Calibur in Japan originally was called, the original one was called Soul Edge.
Yeah.
He is credited as the reason when Namco went to bring that to the States, that he was like, you can't. And then they had to change it to Soul Blade, which eventually became Soul Calibur. He tried to do it one more time. He tried to do it to EA and Mirror's Edge. And that did not work because EA's got a lot of lawyers. He's got a lot of lawyers. That was the last, according to what I read, that was the last time he ever tried to sue anybody. And I'm like, I think they might have killed him. I think Riccatello might have literally killed this man.
Sued him, countersued him into oblivion.
Rest in piss, Tim Langdell. Number two, Silicon Knights versus Epic.
Oh, this was a
Speaking
good
of
one.
bringing Epic back up, Silicon Knights, who they may have had the quickest fall from grace of like, damn, you made Eternal Darkness. That is a GameCube classic. Oh man, Kojima is allowing you to remake Metal Gear and Twin Snakes. Like, this is it.
And that's a great game. I love that version.
And what about Two Human? What do you think about Two
No,
Human?
Two Human was really terrible.
You get it for free on the Xbox store.
It's been free forever, and
Yeah.
I think it might be because of this lawsuit.
It is because of this lawsuit.
And it's so they used the Epic Game Engine, Unreal Engine, to make Two Human, which was a massive bomb, and then they made a game, X-Men Destiny, which was also a massive bomb.
That was
I believe it was an
very
X-Men fight. I don't know if was it a fighting game or a beat 'em up.
I think that was a fighting game. X-Men Destiny.
Real shit. And the studio started to go under. Everything was bad. They were like, our games aren't bad because of us. Our games are bad because Unreal is an unusable engine, despite the fact that fucking 10,000 games were on Unreal and they're fine. So they tried to sue Epic for saying your engine is unusable. So that's the reason our games are bad. Epic looked into it and were like, hey, your games are built on proprietary source code that you stole from us. And so they ordered them to the point where they had to get rid of all physical copies of these two games, and I think that's the reason why Two Humans free, because like you
they
legally
literally
can't
pay for it. Yeah.
for money. That's number two lawsuit of all time, and then number one. What was your guess?
Mortal Kombat 1 and versus crap. What was the man's name?
Well, what is it's not, that's not my number one. But
that's not your number one. Oh,
not Joe Lieberman. What was the guy? His nuts. Not Terry Crews.
I'm blanking so hard.
MK1 lawyer. What was that man's name?
Well, like,
okay. Well, anyways, my number one.
Yeah. Well,
my number one. Universal, renowned film company versus Nintendo over Donkey Kong. Jack Thompson. Thank you so much, Joey. That was his name.
Jack Thompson.
Not Terry Crews. Like
you couldn't remember Jack Thompson.
That's a very fine name. Universal versus Nintendo. Donkey Kong comes out. This is it. Like, Miyamoto's like, this could be it. This could save video games. This could put Nintendo on the map. We're doing it. Universal is looking at this and is like, how do we want some of this? We want this money. You took King Kong from us. You're like, you're stealing our film, the classic film King Kong. You can't do this. Nintendo, very worried. This could have make or break. This could literally have ended Nintendo. We are at a parallel lines. Nintendo finds a hotshot New York lawyer to defend them. This guy, they unproven to them. However, he starts digging and he realizes that Universal had a similar suit with RKO, who actually created King Kong, the original black and white King Kong. And Universal's way, when they remade the movie, their way of getting around it was saying, well, King Kong is like, the story itself is public domain. And so that is the defense Nintendo was able to use against Universal, to be like, well, if you said that the story is public domain, then what we're making is fine. So that lawyer saved Nintendo. His name, John Kirby.
No, that was Jack Kirby.
Yeah, no, Jack Kirby created The Spider-Man.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's Spider-Man. My bad. I'm getting my Johns mixed up with my Jacks.
Kirby's coming from.
And they loved him so much. When Sakurai's getting ready to make that little pink ball, boom, we got a name after the lawyer who saved us, old Kirby. So if you ever talk about Kirby, his real name's John.
What a weird thing for Nintendo to have, like John Kirby and Doug Bowser and like all these people that are like tied to
the Kirby one was
Kirby
first.
came first. Yeah.
They named
I know.
Kirby after him. The Doug Bowser thing is very strange.
Yeah.
Like did his family like at some point like when was he born? How old is Doug Bowser?
And also, why would they be like, we're gonna name you after
Big dumb dragon?
And chat, yes, that is correct. Kirby created the X-Men, not Spider-Man. Steve Ditko is Spider-Man. Thank you for the correction. There's too many superheroes.
Cool.
Just fucking say Stan Lee created them all, and everything's easier.
I'm surprised that the Mortal Kombat suit wasn't on your top 5 because that literally created the ESRB.
That should have been my OLI outside looking in. That's the one that just barely missed the list. That was a good one though. Jack Thompson, that dude was a little shit. I don't know what his deal is anymore.
He was some sort of politician or whatever, right?
Yeah, he's a little wiener. That's what he was. He's an absolute wiener. Nick, do you want to talk about physical media?
I do. I wonder how many people in chat remember. Well, while Marty's reading out those super chats, I wonder how many people in chat even know what game is in the cover of this podcast.
Yeah, let's take a.
You know who it was? You know who people on this podcast did it? I thought the one guy on the left had a little goatee, but it was a shadow, and I was like, "Why has he got a little goatee?" Ridiculous. Don't think that's how the name is pronounced, but I apologize. But it kind of looks like ridiculous. $4.99 dono. Thank you so much. Loving that season 3 of Adventures Now is re-airing. Can't wait to see what happens at the Moonlight Ball. Speaking of physical media, I hope to see Adventures Night Blu-rays someday.
Coming. They are coming.
It's happening. It's happening. Ricadus, thank you so much for the dono. I appreciate it. We're getting to that Midnight Ball. It's happening soon. February.
Good stuff happens.
I don't know what it is.
Moonlight Ball. Get it right.
What did I say?
Midnight.
Oh, I said, did I say Moonlight?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking the Midnight Channel from the hit video game Persona 4. Nick, you like physical media. You're a big weirdo.
I do.
No, you're not a weirdo. This is kind of a big topic, as a larger and larger percentage of games are sold digitally, as the rise of subscription services like Game Pass, like PlayStation Plus, like Ubisoft Plus, like Nintendo Switch Online. It just feels like games are doing what music did at the turn of the century and what TVs and movies have been doing over the past decade or so since the rise of streaming and Netflix and everything. In that the concept of ownership is fading away. Even if you have a giant Steam library, that's not ownership. That is, you own a lot of licenses, and if anyone wants to remove those, that can go away very quickly. And so the conversation just continues over how do we future-proof this industry when we have hundreds. I think there's Rock Paper Shotgun had an article about how just a huge bulk percentage of games made in the 90s are in danger of being just being lost to time, of like just not being preserved, whether legally or illegally, and it's kind of nuts. So I guess right off the bat, Nick, like what's your sort of high level take on physical v digital Dawn of Justice?
I had gone almost 100% digital until about 3 years ago, because when you go to college, you don't want to lug around 100 boxes of video games all the time. And when I was moving and all that, going to apartment to apartment, moving states, whatever, I just didn't want to have all that baggage with me. And like I collected games growing up, and like I think I talked about last week, I would collect a huge massive Xbox games, sell them, get my PS3s, collect those, get my next console kind of thing. Based on the image in the thumbnail, I'm kind of regretting that I used to do that. I'm like, damn, I don't own these games anymore. I can't play them. So the game on the cover, if you're wondering, was Battlefield Middle-earth 2. And so when we were discussing the topic for this podcast today, I was kind of thinking a bit deeper about it. I'm like, you know what? Like, are we going to repeat history at some point? Because EA back in 2005 to 2010 had the Lord of the Rings license for video games. And they had made a bunch of video games under the Lord of the Rings license. Lord of the Rings War of the North, the Battlefield Middle-earth 2, Lord of the Rings Conquest. and none of you cannot buy those games anywhere anymore unless you can find a physical copy. None of them are purchasable. And
None
so
of them got like forward generation like ports or anything like the movie games never got.
They literally can't do anything with them unless they regain the license for Lord of the Rings.
So because they lost the license, they just can't sell games that they made when they did have the license?
Yeah, they can't do anything with them.
Huh.
And yeah, and you know, when I was kind of thinking about the topic today, I was kind of like, well, Sony owns Spider-Man, so I mean, I'm not really worried about Spider-Man games going away, right? But like Microsoft doesn't own Blade. And what happens if Disney decides to revoke that license for them to use Blade 15 years from now? Like, does that game just go away? And like and licensed games are becoming a huge thing in the industry again because, you know, the Disney and, you know, Warner Bros. And all that are really getting into it now. So like what happens to those games when those licenses move or change companies or anything? And so I'm like, man, like we're gonna repeat history at some point because Marvel's Avengers is already gone.
Well, and like Spider-Man isn't locked down. Like Sony has the exclusive licensing rights to Spider-Man on film. But if they would ever, like, the reason we keep getting shitty Spider-Man movies is because if they ever go a certain amount of time without putting that movie out, the rights revert.
License. Yeah.
So like there is like, this wasn't that long ago when something like the Scott Pilgrim game was like, we're taking this off the store because the licensing got all wonked up, and that made its way back relatively recently, which was cool. But there's also plenty of licensed games from the NES, Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo, N64, PS1, PS2 era that just are lost to time, that aren't not available on digital storefronts, were never ported forward, are just kind of, you know, only available if you have it physically or if you want to steal it.
Yeah, and that's like obviously we haven't seen, you know, the legal documents behind these things. I wonder if like maybe, you know, stuff like Lord of the Rings games are taken into account, that like if we move the license, like you can continue selling the game, you just have to pay us the royalties or whatever that looks like. But you know, EA or Sony or whoever could say, no, we don't want to do that. It's not worth our time anymore to produce that game. Yeah. So like I feel like that's what EA did. I mean, with Lord of the Rings licensed games, because like who's gonna buy Battlefield Middle-earth for 1 or 2 or Conquest or War in the North anymore? But yeah, like I remember like 5 years ago, I wanted to do a video on Lord of the Rings games, and then I went to like go buy Battlefield Middle-earth 2, and I'm like, oh, I can't find it anywhere. And you can't. And then I was like, oh, you can't buy it. I was like, oh, well, I want to play War in the North because I never finished it. Nope, can't buy that. Can't buy Conquest. You know, weirdly enough, like the Star Wars Battlefront games like never fell into that trap. But
like this is the thing that keeps happening mainly with things like movie licenses and like music licenses, like the soundtrack for something
Tony Hawk
over time.
games and stuff like that, especially that era. Yeah.
I'm curious, are there situations where this has happened for something that was always purely like video game related? Like someone was like, like a parent company has changed hands or whatever, and so this past IP has fallen out of existence because there's a weird rights thing or license thing with just video games.
Yeah, with the consolidation of publishers and developers, there are games where it's just like, oh, the publisher doesn't exist, the developer doesn't exist. Like, who owns this? Like, No One Lives Forever is a game that's in this weird like limbo.
Right? Yeah,
it's like, who owns this thing? And
well, the one that always makes me laugh a little bit is like when everybody's surprised that car games get delisted, and like
car licensing,
car licenses go away
as well.
Yeah, like, and it's like, yeah, every single car game you have eventually will be delisted because of licensing.
Even like versions of games, like I remember, so Jet Set Radio came out on the Dreamcast, and then there was like a Xbox Live Arcade port, and that had to remove like Rob Zombie's Dragula from the soundtrack because whatever license agreement they had with Rob Zombie's Dragula on the original game was like, it is only for this individual game and not if it ever goes anywhere else. Like weird things like that. So yeah, especially like that era.
No, I'm gonna say part of that feels like kind of like they're making it up as they go along. Like they're not thinking of the future or whatever. They're making a contract that somehow benefits one side over the other because one side is more desperate than the other. But then like years and years down the road, you get to this point where it's like, oh, this just doesn't make any sense anymore for anyone. Like no one wins with the way this has been drafted.
Yeah, it's such a young medium that no one's thinking half a century ahead, let alone decades ahead, let alone years ahead. It's like if we can get this thing done, it's a win in our book. And so yeah, it's kind of wild. And you look at modern games. Batterskull in the chat brought it up. I think about this all the time. Of what are the rights to Smash Ultimate like? Because that has like 15 different companies, more than that probably, whose characters are in the game, and one of them's Disney. Like, what do we do? Like, how? Like, what does that game look like if it ever tries to move? Is that game even portable to Switch 2? Like,
Yeah,
is
like,
that going to be like, do we have to like go to everyone's house and be like, Mr. Kojima, we would like to use your snake?
Yeah, it's really strange. And like the fact that they're very secretive about how those deals come about adds to the fact that like you just don't know. And they're probably different for every character. Like stuff from Capcom maybe was a lot smoother than stuff from Square Enix. And
Sure,
Square Enix was like, you only get like 7 tracks versus Capcom. Like, I was like, what was that about? Who knows?
Yeah.
So like, yeah, it's like, and this specific licensing thing is an entirely different argument from just preservation in general. Because and like digital media versus physical media in general, because like on the whole, like I'm kind of pro digital. Like I'm of the mindset that like unless you're like a specific collector type and like you want it because you know you're filling out a collection or you're like you know trading to other collectors or whatever, if you just want to play the games, it doesn't really make sense to hoard a huge mass of library. Even if you're the world's biggest gamer, like digital makes more sense for you to actually be able to just play the stuff you want and like live a regular life. And like if like 30 years from now, 40 years from now, like you're not gonna want to go back and play whatever that thing is that you bought and are like, well, I own it, so I have the right to play. Like, sure, maybe you do, but you don't actually care. You're just mad that someone's telling you that they're gonna take it away from you.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is the very, very small group that will want to do that. Like the people who have a massive movie collection and like, tonight I'm bringing True Fallout. They always say
Well,
that.
sure, well, but that's what I mean. Like, yeah, those are people who are like, I'm about this life. Like, I'm collecting these things because like this is my thing. But like for like the great majority of us are like, we just want to play video games. They're like me, who like has dedicated the majority of my life to video games. I don't need all the like. I had to rebuy Mirror's Edge because I got the hankering to play it at one point in my life when I didn't have it because I had sold it forever ago. But eventually I just bought it digitally. And that's how I play that game when I want to go back to it. Like
you had to go to Tim Langdell's house and ask him if you could buy Mirror's Edge. Nick, why do you buy the physical stuff still?
Mostly just so that I have access to it now, I guess. Like like these live service games, I honestly just buy physical just so that I have them preserved because I know like at some point they're probably going away. You know, like when is Destiny 1 going to get delisted? You know, when nobody's playing it anymore. Are the servers even on for that game? I
was about to say, but having it preserved is different than like you might have it on your shelf, but can you play this thing? That's the other thing.
I mean, it's gotten more and more complicated as you know these games. Like to even play the physical version of these games, you have to download them. So,
well, how few games that the disc you get are the actual finished game, whether it be because of DLC or whether it be because of
never anywhere. You have day one patches every game
and
now,
so like even if you own these things, like you don't necessarily own the finished game. And then like you said, the idea that these servers can go away and just something like can just cease to exist, something that was tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of man hours put into something just ceasing to exist. So
that's when we were putting this topic together this morning, I found that website. I don't remember what it's called. If you have the notes up,
delisted games.
It's a website called delistedgames.com, and let me tell you, that was a very depressing website to scroll through. And like a lot of those games, like I didn't realize were actually completely gone. Like I didn't realize they're getting ready. I think they're getting ready to completely delist like Second Extinction, which is that dinosaur shooting game from Avalanche.
Did it ever like actually come out? Like it was in like the early access thing on Xbox for a while.
Yeah, I don't think it finished early access. Like they canceled it, and now it's just going to get delisted completely, I believe. But yeah, like if you go look at that website, there's probably a lot of games on there that you didn't even realize are gone, and you can't even touch anymore. And I'm like, whoa. And
Yeah,
like,
that's a bummer.
But again, something.
one of them we covered in the indie showcase. It was on their Quantum League, that time loop
Oh right,
shooter.
yeah, I
Yeah,
reviewed that.
fell on its face, and we kind of knew that, but I mean, yeah, it's completely gone. Can't even play it anymore. Who knows what happened to it? So like, I don't know. I like,
Like,
these companies have the source files to it, so there's a way to preserve that stuff. But I don't know. It just yeah, like Friday the 13th game is completely gone because whoever the
Complicated rights thing. Yeah, I mean,
really
because
asshole thing behind that one.
the Friday the 13th movie is notoriously, I believe there are two parties who are constantly arguing over who has the rights to it. That's why we've weirdly not had a Friday the 13th movie in like 15 years because
But
they can't get their shit together
just
to figure out who owns this anymore. Which I believe actually just was resolved a few months ago.
Yeah, I think maybe don't focus so much on the title of this podcast because we didn't really know how to title it in a way that would make sense for this. But I think the more interesting top kind of question is like, why don't these companies put the money in to preserve their libraries and their games, and like even if it's like going to download a ROM of Battlefield Middle Earth 2, like it can't cost that much to host that file up and just say like, all right, like nobody's gonna buy this anymore, just go ahead and access it, unless you're Nintendo and continues to charge $50 for a Wii U game that came out 12 years ago, Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze.
The reason is the same reason
money.
why
It's money.
everything happens. Yeah, like
corporate money.
it doesn't make money to
Yep.
put money aside to preserve the stuff. It does make money to check it out as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Like if it was just auteurs and artists doing this, I'm sure there'd be a way they'd be like, all right, look at my wall of all the things I've created. Sure.
Yeah, I get the money. I get the money side of it. It's just more of like,
no, it's terrible. Like it's not a good thing, but that's
even
the reason.
even if what if you have all these subscription services exist now, and maybe you don't want them to be on your front page, and maybe you just add an extra $5 to access our historical content or something like that, that kind of thing. There's a way to make money on these old games that people would probably happily pay for just to have access to them when they want to have access to them. Because like Marty, you brought up like kind of hoarding, or what you brought up like kind of hoarding, physical media that you're never going to touch again. Yeah, I completely get that. Like collecting all these movies, and I probably don't even watch a tenth of them. So I've slowed down on that because I'm like, I got tricked into buying physical media, and then everybody's freaking out because Best Buy is no longer selling physical media. And everybody's like, "Oh, it's a death of physical media." It's like, no, it's just a death of Best Buy. Nobody goes to Best Buy anymore because Amazon makes bank off of physical media. They're always sold out of like the biggest new movies. But
like in all, like not to get morbid and not to be like too counter to the argument, whatever. But like, even if you are a collector of the stuff and it means a lot to you, when you die, what happens to that stuff? Like, do your kids get it? Do they give a damn? Like, it either gets sold off or sent to a landfill. Like this sort of, like, I love art, like I love video games, movies, TV, and whatnot. But like the experience is the experience. Like the actual physical thing that contains it, like the disc, the vinyl, like whatever it's printed on, like it's really not that important. And I get the idea of like I paid for a physical thing, that physical thing belongs to me. But Frost had a cold take, a very recent one, that was literally about that. The fact that like even back in the day when you bought like a cartridge or whatever, it was still just the license. It's just the license was tied to a physical thing because that's how it worked.
Yeah.
Like you still didn't own the game in the way you think you own the game. Like it's fully impractical for someone to come to your house and come take the thing when they decide that no, you don't get to play it anymore. That's just not a thing that happened.
Yeah.
So like it's the same as it always was. It's just this idea, and this comes back to that quote that everyone was kind of really ruffled by from the Ubi exec. And like the quote itself was actually kind of taken out of context. And I don't want to sound like a shill. Yes, I do work for Ubisoft.
No, I agree with you that it was taken out of context.
But like, yeah, the quote was taken out of context. He was saying that people need to get used to the idea of digital in order for digital subscription services to like take off and be like the new normal, which is just true. Because we all have hangups about that exact thing of like giving up our physical media. I had this with music more so than video games. Like I used to collect tons and tons of CDs, and like I had like the little case, and like I would burn new, CDs for, like off the internet illegally, whatever, and like write mixes and whatnot. I had tons
We
and tons of
all
CDs.
did that.
Yeah. And then when everything started moving to digital, like I would literally burn my collection onto my computer. But then that just came super impractical when you can just download the thing or subscribe to a service and just get literally all the music. Like it just makes more sense that way. And like I haven't looked back.
Yeah, I mean, I'm mostly in that same boat. But you know, I don't know. It's like an interesting thing to think about because like books, right? Like if you couldn't access a book anymore, like 1984, just because of some stupid license deal,
Mhm.
when like people, the world would go nuts because you can't access a book. You know, and like we've seen to treat games and movies differently just because they are digital and not, you know, written down. I don't know. It's yeah. I think for me, it's just the idea that like a lot of these games or movies that I enjoy could just go away at any time because of some legal loophole, license, whatever you want to call it. I think that tends to bother me. Like I kind of as somebody
Yeah, the
that
licensing thing in particular, like that always seems to be really ugly. And yeah, I wish there was a way to shore that up better. But like
mm,
the companies that deal in that sort of thing have been doing that sort of thing for so long. Like they have a method to their madness that benefits just them and not the consumer. So
yeah.
like I can't really see that changing anytime soon.
Uh, but yeah, I go back to thinking about like when I used to collect like Yu-Gi-Oh cards, you know, and then one day I'd literally just realized I'm spending a lot of money on just buying pieces of paper with a picture on this. What am I doing? And I
These are
immediately
good pictures
stopped.
though.
I immediately stopped. I was like, I could feel like when I went to a store and like you're putting this at the front of the store, so I can't avoid it. I could feel the capitalism seeping into my veins.
Yeah, but I mean, it's different than like being like, well, I'm just gonna order lunch every day. Like you just cook at home, but like
Yeah.
but people order lunch every day. It's like I don't know. I'm never
Yeah,
gonna
but I
like.
need lunch to survive. I don't need a piece of paper with a
You don't
picture on it.
need that lunch to survive,
I
though.
it
You can
depends.
make.
It depends on the day.
You ordered food twice during the Persona stream, which was impressive.
No, I only ordered once. I had five
What?
guys.
Oh, okay. That's a lot.
I
That's
I
five.
I,
Five different guys.
I had
Again.
leftover lunch from the day before that I ordered.
That was it. God damn it, Nick. 2 in a row. You monster. So I don't yuck anyone's yum when it comes to buying. I think everyone's
Yeah.
just like, you spend your money on whatever you want. I got all these fucking amiibo here. Like I think I'm like near the ending of my amiibo. I might not be.
Mhm.
I think I'm nearing the end. Yeah,
There's
but
only
I'm
a
weird.
couple left.
I think one of the reasons when I got into the games industry, I immediately like kind of stopped caring about physical because I had to play so many games digitally.
Yeah.
Like with
Yeah,
the
we have
V
a
code and
we have
stuff.
a
Where at
we have a
that
very
point I
unique
was
set of
like,
circumstances.
but I also, like, as a kid, I still have a lot of my games, but I did sell a lot of my games to GameStop and like Funko Land and shit. And like, there is some real valuable stuff I sold that I probably sold for like $10. And I think like just that has made me not want like the idea of going back and trying to like rebuy my PS2 collection for what it would cost now. I'm just like, okay, I just can't do this. I'm just going digital.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still like playing on real hardware though, which is like that's something like I'm digital and I'm just like I will emulate things when I need to, but I would still always rather prefer to play a game on either its original intended hardware or like via an officially supported console release or something.
It's
Like
kind of like what Elsie said about like zero punctuation, like you don't care until it's gone, kind of thing.
yeah, that's
And
Mhm.
because DV Trooper in chat brings up the fact that Netflix and Disney, etc., don't do physical releases of their shows, really annoys me. Actually, Disney kind of turncoated on that and did do like a physical release of Loki, WandaVision, and the Mandalorian seasons. So, pray to God, I hope we get Andor physical. But like Netflix and Disney and all these streaming services are like a prime example of why I want physical media to come back, because these shows that I really love and would love to rewatch, they completely control them, whether I get to ever watch those shows again unless they release them on physical media. And I hate that. I hate that so much that like these good shows that get canceled are just thrown away on Netflix like they never existed, right? Like that's why I'm like,
like remember that Willow show that like a few months after it came
Yeah.
out, they just got
never
rid
watched it
of it and
again.
it's just gone? Like that is
Yeah,
insane.
yeah,
There was
like
that Kid
that.
Cudi space movie, like Space Kid movie with Kid Cudi, like 2 months after it came out. It was
And
just disappeared.
yeah, and like I don't think games have reached that point, or Actually, no, they have exactly reached that point, because if you look at that delisted website, the only thing is like people don't care about those games, unfortunately.
I cared about Phantom Breakers, but apparently they're just doing a remaster. So,
but like Quantumly, like we had fun playing streaming that. Like you cannot touch that game ever again; it's gone. And
but that's because people weren't playing that game,
right? But
like,
I mean,
if it still was here, like I think people would still not be playing that game.
I know, I'm aware, like that, but that's like the slippery slope of it, right? If a subset of people, like, if not enough people care about it, then you can't preserve it, kind of thing.
Yeah, and that sucks. Just, and it's like, there's no good answer to that, because it's like, so do we just preserve everything, like anything that, because like the second Extinction example you gave, like that game never even made it to like a 1.0 release. Should that be preserved in like its formative? Like maybe there is some value to that process, but like there's got to be a line somewhere, right? Where this thing just wasn't a thing yet, so like it goes away. Maybe it was just an idea.
Well, it either goes away or I mean, like some developers that like do have failed games are releasing the source code to the players to let them do what they wish with it, because clearly nobody's buying it, right? Deep Rock Galactic did a really interesting thing. Like people wanted to access the original version of that game, not the updated version, like the original 1.0 release. And so like if you go into the properties, like you can go into the betas of that game and play the original release if you want. Like that's somebody that like that game's only available digitally, I think. And that's like a cool way to preserve the history of like where that game came from. So like I think there's like unique ways to do this.
Like
where
vanilla WoW, right? Like
Blizzard
like release, or WoW Classic, whatever they called it when they re-released it.
Like there's still crazy people out there that like want to continue playing Brink. But that's the multiplayer game.
You just want to play Brink.
I don't want to play Brink. I did not like
Brink boys.
I did not like Brink.
Brink has some of my favorite like movement sounds. Like it's a real crunchy. Yeah, it's just a real you know how like in most shooters, when you just walk around, like you hear your soldiers like clothing ruffle or whatever, or your gear rattle. Brink sounds so crunchy, and I love it. I don't know why.
But
I made a video about this.
People in chat bringing up like the original Star Wars releases. The only way you can watch those if you have that gold box VHS set, which I have somewhere, but I don't own a VHS player.
Special editions. It was the pre-gold box ones. Like it's like
Lucas. I don't even know what the originals are.
Lucas been futzing with that for a long time. I do like the
for my entire.
Also
my
feels
entire
like such Disney could make so much money if they just released the original trilogy untouched on Blu-ray. But I guess that would be touched because it'd be on like 4K.
At least HBO gives me the option to watch the extended version of Lord of the Rings, or not. I don't know where the fuck do I watch Lord of the HBO.
Oh,
no, fucking Max. Max lets me watch the Lord of the Rings or the extended version, and I know everybody says watch the extended version. I refuse to watch them.
You refuse to watch the extended version?
What's wrong with the extended version?
You put put that bunk ass Lord of the Rings art on the cover, and you refuse to watch the extended version. The extended versions are so good. What? That is crazy.
Well, whatever. The extended versions of The Hobbit were better.
What do you?
I have no opinion on this.
Oh my god, that's gross.
Extended version of the Hobbit movies actually made them into like watchable movies.
No, so you watch extended Hobbit, but you don't watch extended Lord of the Rings?
Lord of the Rings was perfect as it is.
Oh, god, that is like
I don't want to sully by an extended version.
That is absolutely deviant behavior. I am someone who still I like when companies, either the publishers and developers, if they're still around, or companies like your Limited Run, your Digital Eclipse, go back into the past and like actually give a shit when they're porting a game forward, bringing sort of forgotten gems, bringing like the Klonoa, like Bandai Namco bringing the Klonoa games back. They're bringing the Tumba games back. They're bringing the Gex games back. Those like compilations that put like a lot of work into stuff like the Disney Afternoon Collection or the Ninja Turtles collection that came out recently. Even like Capcom with like your Mega Man stuff, or Konami with the Castlevania ones were good. The Metal Gear one, we don't need to talk about that. It's fine. I'm glad that the Metal Gear games are on my Switch. I'm happy that Snake's hanging out in my hand. So I still like that, and I know the best solution would just be like, why can't everything just be backwards compatible? I agree. Like, I really hope this next Switch is backwards compatible, because that's. But everyone PCs you're gonna spend hours futzing with your PC when you could be watching special editions. You could see them smoking their long bottom leaf. A lot of long.
Oh,
bottom leaf.
wait, I watched the extended version of Return of the King. I have not watched the extended versions of Fellowship or Two
Fucking-
Towers.
That should be a
Fellowship-
jailable offense.
Those movies
Fellowship-
were already
Fellowship
too
of the Ring.
long.
Fellowship of the Ring does not need to be touched. That's a perfect movie.
You know, it makes it even more perfect. Another hour or so.
More Fellowship.
More Fellowship, more Ring. Same amount of ring. There's just one ring. That's what the whole thing's about. Also, Alan Wake 2 recently was a weird example of a game that just didn't get a physical release, right?
Yeah,
Which is weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of those games, I think some of those games like hold back for like a limited collector's edition to get people the fear of missing out, and
You buy the digital one and then you buy the
But
fancy.
I mean, the flip side of that is like people with slow internet connections aren't gonna download a 70 gig game. Like they're probably
still
missing
gotta,
out
like,
a lot of sales, and also
You still
being on-
download half the game.
It's funny how a game will come out and I'll fucking love it, and I'll go back to replay it a few years later and realize I never bought it because it was on Game Pass and it's no longer on Game Pass. That happened with Outer Wilds and Control. Both games, I was like, these games are fucking good. And like Outer Wilds, I was like, this is one of the greatest games I've ever played. And then I went to, I think, replay it when Eyes of the Echo, the DLC came out. And I was like, I never owned this game. I never gave these people money at all. Like I need to rectify that. I need to buy this game as like an apology. I think it was the same way with like Spiritfarer. Where I was like, ooh, I never bought this game. This is just on Game Pass.
You're making an argument for Game Pass because that's how a lot of people try games, and then when they do realize, oh, this is going away, like it's not mine forever, then they buy it. But it's still not yours forever.
No.
you just own the license.
I thought PT was mine forever. And then
Can't take my disc away from me unless it's Drive Club, and then I can't access it online anymore.
Eric threw a really good point on this conversation in our chat, basically talking about like bit rot. Like physical media can go bad if you give them all enough
but
time.
I'll be dead before it goes bad.
And that's what I'm talking about. We're all going to be dead eventually. None of this, none of this physical media hoarding shit actually matters. If you really want to think about it,
pharaohs on a mound of his steel cases.
You will bury me. My steel cases will become my tombstone.
Exactly.
just build it out of the cases.
Yeah, I didn't buy a single physical game last year.
Disney is on my tombstone. They got capitalism. Just ended up killing me.
Yeah, I bought some Dreamcast games. Those are the only games I bought last year.
Dreamcast?
Games.
Do you have a working Dreamcast?
I have one in the mail. It's coming.
Okay.
That's Myco. Got a Dreamcast coming. I'm excited. Because I keep thinking about buying that $700 retro tink. I'm not going to. I want to preface. It needs to be fully understood. I'm not going to buy the $700 retro tink.
That's how I feel about that Arc Odyssey, that Odyssey Arc monitor.
See, everyone has that one thing, the one that got away.
Bear Bomb says you can't take digital games when you die either. Yeah, you can. I could just change my password before I die and take it to my grave.
Listen, guys, I'm not saying that digital is better because it somehow lasts longer than the physical ones. I'm saying it's the same raw deal. Like all of the things you love are gonna go away.
I'm saying when I die, I don't give a shit. At least my kids don't have to lug a bunch of stuff around. So.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Like the stuff you love, no one's gonna give a shit about when your grandkids' generation comes about. Like you're done. Get over it.
Yeah.
You're like Danny DeVito. When you're done, just toss me in the trash.
I'm sorry, I'm half joking.
All right, Danny DeVito.
Look, I'm like quasi joking. True Mando, $5 dono. Thank you so much, True Mando. The reason True Mando has physical games is that when I get dementia, I can look at my physical collection and hopefully bring those memories back sometimes. See, that's not bad.
Yeah, I can't just get those memories back by like looking at my Steam library. Like I remember that Quantum Break game, but if I can touch it, the memories will flood back through my tips into my head.
Well, it's not going to work because you're going to accidentally log out of Steam and not remember what your password is if you have dementia.
Oh, God.
If you got like a big library of games, you can just rub your hands around the end of it. I like my old games. I don't want to buy new games, which is funny because I feel like in 20 years I'm gonna be like, man, I should have bought games. I'm gonna I should have bought all those Switch games. What if I just owned a bunch of those Switch games?
Like when I actually have money again, I've been contemplating buying a PS3 because I am sick of not being able to replay Infamous one or two, like a like half a PS3's
That's not in their like
library you can't
library
access.
thing.
It's in the digital the stream library, but nobody wants to stream that shit.
Nobody wants to stream stuff in the PlayStation.
I highly recommend. I bought a used PS3 a little while ago, and it's been working great. And I've been playing the games like you're mentioning, the ones that in the digital store is still available for a little while. That's closing down though. So
No, I'm buying a physical copy of the Lair. I need it. I need to own that game.
And you need to buy an original 6-axis, just going wild. Yeah. Bear Bomb with a $5 dono as well. Thank you so much, Bear Bomb. Remember, all these donos are going towards Adventures Nigh Season 4 on location. Look at that goal. Almost oh my God.
If you're not watching Adventures Nigh, you're not in support of physical media, so you suck.
I'm pretty sure those are digital.
We're gonna make them physical media, though.
We're
gonna make them physical. We're gonna make them physical.
We said that last.
We're gonna make Dabarella real, guys.
We were going to, and then we got fired, and now we have to reprint the covers because logos that we don't use are on them.
I get fired. I quit.
That's
Bear Bomb with a $5
I got thrown in the trash.
I buy and collect physical games because, to quote Marty, my brain is broken. All of our brains are broken in one way, shape, or form.
Like you guys gave me a bunch of shit for making my own physical copies.
Oh yeah, that was pretty funny.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Yeah. We called your basement the Lamination Nation.
I got some cool ass custom Dragon Age Origins and Dragon Age 2 boxes on my shelf that have no CD in them. They're just empty boxes.
Yeah, I mean,
like my empty soul.
It's really cool. It's really
if
cool.
They don't have anything in them, I feel like that's stolen valor.
Yeah, tell that to Halo Infinite when they sold the steel book without even a disc in it.
I still drive my dad's. I inherited my dad's car when he passed away, and he was a vet, a Purple Heart, and his license plate has a Purple Heart on it. And I don't like park in the handicap.
Sure.
I was pumping gas once, and a guy saluted me and said, "Thank you for your service," and I said, "You're welcome." And I didn't understand for like a day why he said that. And I also don't know why I said "You're welcome."
Maybe you thought he was a gas station attendant, and like your service was paying for gas.
You are really good at swiping that card.
Marty, I'm remembering how much we care about physical media because remember when we needed a Blu-ray case to fit the cover in to make sure they were the right size. Yeah. So we went to a physical media store, bought a $2 movie, and then I immediately threw the disc in the trash and just walked out.
Yeah, that did happen.
That was the last time I was ever in that store, and it closed down. R.I.P.
I caused it to close down?
That store closed down?
Yeah. Pouring one out. Pouring out for the real ones.
Oh, no.
Milwaukee, Wisconsin does not care about physical media. Ever since the guy was like, "This is it. Everything's turning around." He saw you buy it and throw it in the trash.
Imagine if he watched you out the window, just chuck the disc in the trash.
I'm going to join a Coventry.
I'm just done. I'm quit.
He just took out a gasoline can right after that. I was like,
I'm going to Nepal. I'm getting rid of all my worldly belongings. And
I don't even know what movie I bought. I don't remember what movie that was.
It was probably like about a mall cop or something.
No, I'm not Palworld Mall Cop.
No, it was a different film about.
This is the blog of the trash.
There was all sorts of films about mall cops. You guys want to talk about stuff we've been watching and playing?
Yes.
Sure, why not?
I want to talk about the big game of the week. No, Nick, you don't get to start with one of your games. We got to talk about the big game of the week because it's actually a big game.
I like how I said I'm happy, and you said no, Nick, you don't get to start.
Because you were probably going to be like, I want to talk about Taylor Sheridan. You could talk about Taylor Sheridan, but you wait until after Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. Pop TLC, as KC calls it.
Buy a physical copy of it.
Funny acronym.
Did I buy? No, I actually bought a deluxe digital copy of it so I could start 3 days earlier.
Did you really?
Fucking idiot! And let me tell you, the extra costume that comes with it, I don't care. However, getting to play
you
the
didn't
game
even start
3
at 3
days
days early, did you?
I did. I started on Monday. I've put quite some time into it. It's great. Game's really fucking good. I am smitten with it. It is scratching every single one of those Metroidvania itches. And I just think it is just extremely well made, which not surprising from Ubisoft Montpellier, responsible a while ago for the original 3D Rayman games, for Beyond Good and Evil, most recently for Rayman Legends and Origins. This game is really, really, really fucking good. Casey, you've been playing it, right?
I put a tiny bit of time into it. But yeah, early impressions, very positive. The prince, well, this isn't the prince. Sargon is not the prince. That was a big deal when this was announced. But but Sargon feels great to move around and fight with. And like yeah, like it's a big ass map. Like there's cool like the combat in particular is very like simple. Like all your attacks kind of move in the direction that you're facing. And so like if you want to hit an enemy up in the air, you just hold up and then keep pressing attack. Same thing if you're in the air, you want to hit enemies down or like do dive bombs and stuff. And like you link that with like, you know, your ability to run or slide on the ground. And just very quickly you have access to just a ton of like just really cool, slick looking fight stuff. And I'm only at the very beginning, so I can't wait till like I start getting more powers and stuff to like build on that.
Yeah, the
Is it
game does a great job of doling out new abilities, both story-centric ones as well as when you finally get to the first shop, you can really start kicking the tires on the kind of like the Hollow Knight-esque charm system. You know, you have a X number of slots to fill up with charms. Some of them might take one, some of them might take two, a big one might take three. That really lets you kind of accommodate your play. Like, do you want a movement-based thing? Do you want something that deals a ton of damage? Do you want to be resistant to certain elements? But I've just it has its hooks in me. Like all day, I was just thinking, like looking at my Switch, and I was like, what if I pop this open, get a little bit more, see what else Sargon's up to.
Hmm.
Have you started yet, Nick?
No, I haven't. Oh, I will get to it. I do want to play it. As someone who's been playing more Metroidvanias lately.
I'll be curious to see. I think the map is extremely readable. I think I just hit a part where they have doled out fast travel, but it's kind of like Symphony of the Night. Like when you find a room, those two rooms can speak to each other, and you can. I'm assuming the more rooms, you can choose which one you go to.
Yeah, that's I think that's
Um,
how most modern Metroidvanias handle it. Like you have to go to a location in order to fast travel.
yeah, the train station in Hollow Knight, that kind of
But like
thing.
folks have been really into some of the quality of life things that this game has done for like traversal in a Metroidvania. Like you
Mhm.
can do that snapshot thing where any room you're in, you can literally just take a picture and that just stamps a thing on your map of like, hey, this is the room that was here. And you can just refer back to that anywhere else you're at to remember, like, oh, now that I have this new ability, is this a place I can use it at?
Mhm.
No. Yes, that is. And then
Yeah, you were like, I don't know what this thing was. I'll take a picture of it, and then maybe later on, you're like, oh, that's this thing I just got. I can look at that picture and be like, oh, this looks like the same color as my bow and arrow, so maybe I can go back and shoot this thing with an
mhm.
arrow, and it'll open up.
Mm.
And they
Yeah,
let you
just
choose whether or not you get like a hey, you want to be lost and explore kind of map, or if a hey, just put icons on the map. Like tell me where things are, where doors are locked. So you can choose one way or the other if you prefer,
yeah,
which is always good.
it has a ton of accessibility sliders for like small thing. Like if you want your special attack to charge faster, you could just have that. You can keep the same difficulty, same health, everything, and just move that slider. If you want to dish out a little more damage or take a little less damage, or if you want a little help with some of the platforming, because some of the platforming challenges do get kind of Ori, Celeste, Hollow Knight-y, where you get different movement abilities. You'll get an air dash that can recharge by doing X, Y, or Z. And so you get those things where it's like there's spikes everywhere and you got to make it through this big old platforming loop. Just really a really good, really well thought out Metroidvania. Nothing yet, aside from honestly that picture thing, which I think is really cool. Nothing
Mhm.
like feels revolutionary, but everything feels extremely good, which makes this game extremely playable. Runs amazing in handheld mode on Switch, so I'm assuming it runs even better on consoles and PC and stuff.
Yeah, I'm playing on PC. Like it looks good. Like it
Yeah,
looks really good. Like it's
yeah.
super slick. I love how they like we Nick, you were playing the roguelike deck builder game,
Hmm.
which I forget the name
Beneath
constantly.
Orisa.
Beneath Orisa. We were playing that the other day, and we were talking about like how those animations like really helped sell just the card based thing. But in this game, like it's actual fighting, but they still put all that flourish in there. Like you'll trigger like a special move, and you get like a zoomed in, super over the top like anime styled cutscene as your
Hmm.
move like fires off, and like it's just so good looking. Like if you feel like you're just a real serious badass playing this game.
Yeah, definitely took. I mean, it took inspiration from a million great games. You can tell, you can feel the Metroid Dread in there.
Mm,
That those kind of like visual flourishes with a parry feel like the parries in Metroid Dread. There's even an enemy that's kind of like the Emmy in Metroid Dread, like a
mm.
unstoppable enemy that you need to slink around as you go through. Just really good stuff. A couple of people ask, why is it called Prince of Persia if you're not the prince? You are like a royal guard, a member of the royal guard who and the prince is stolen. So your goal is to find
Same
the Prince of
logic
Persia.
as Legend of Zelda.
Exactly. And I really like the
Like,
setting is they stole the prince and took him to this like weird old ruins of a castle, and but the whole thing about the castle is it's like all timey wimey wubby wubby to where like you'll meet someone and they'll be like, I've been in here for weeks, and your character will be like, we came in hours ago. What do you mean it's been weeks? So like there's all sorts of weird time distortions going on, which again plays into Sands of Time, sort of the time aspect of the series as a whole. Great stuff. Big thumbs up.
well, I think it
First-
does like it does move away from the Sands of Time identity because of that. Like you don't like rewind time as far as I can tell or what I've heard.
No, but it still uses like the concept of time as like a
Yeah,
thematic device in it. But yeah,
sure.
it definitely doesn't. It feels of its own. It doesn't feel like, oh, it's the next
Chat's
Prince of
complaining
Persia.
about spoilers, but I assume this is something you learn in the first 5 minutes
Yeah,
of
this
the
is the
game.
very beginning. Come on.
No, they were. I'm assuming Eric was joking there because that is just literally
Okay.
that's yeah. They've said the whole time that was in the reveal. But yeah, good stuff. Highly recommended. I think it's on every platform under the sun. $40, $50.
I think it's $49.99.
Yeah, whatever it is. I think I paid $10 extra because I needed that hot deluxe. They were like, "You have an extra outfit." I was like, "I don't want it." You can
But that
keep
outfit
it.
was like the old style Prince or something like that.
I think so.
Is
I've
that what it
unlocked a couple
was?
different outfits, and I keep thinking they're gonna look like other princes I recognize, and I don't, and none of them do. And then I realize I just don't know what a lot of the princes look like. So I like the color theory of the main character. I like the splash of blue on his his
That princely
scarf,
sash.
princely
Yeah.
sash. Yeah, exactly. Uh, Nick, sorry, what have you been playing? Why haven't you been playing Prince of Persia?
Well, I've been obviously, I think we can say review copies are out for Infinite Wealth, so I've been working on that, but can't talk about it yet. So you'll
Gotcha.
hear more of our thoughts about that later. But I've been playing. Yeah, just been kind of relaxing the evenings with Chivalry 2 again lately. I've been playing that game pretty religiously since launch. Honestly, like I've just had a really good time with that game. Best feeling melee combat in a multiplayer game, I think, and so they've been very consistent with updates with new maps that are fun. The map designs I don't think there's a map in that game I don't enjoy, and it's just kind of haven't been able to put that one down. The other multiplayer game been playing was Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Been playing that a lot. I feel like the community on that game has been quite toxic towards the developers because they've been slower on updates because Gun is not a huge developer. But the player count on that game is actually pretty healthy considering it's on Game Pass. So it's I think it's doing okay, and it's got a really good gameplay loop where I've been a fan of like more strategy oriented multiplayer games lately, and like Siege, like learning the map is like half of that game. And Texas Chainsaw is kind of like that too, where you need to know the map to kind of cut off routes and learn where the best place to place traps are, and like use really good communication with like if you're playing the family to kill the victims, use really good communication to like call out where people are and how to cut them off and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and it does that thing like you don't have intel ops like Siege does, but like it'll do things where like someone made a noise, and so like
Yep.
it's kind of covering the same base of like this is giving me information about the enemy that I desperately need so that I can like adjust what I'm doing. So like I think it's a better designed thing than most of these sort of hide and seek games that I've seen and tried out, because it's not about hiding really. It's about it's about stealth. And I feel like those are different. Like that sounds similar, but those I feel like those
It's
are different.
You have objective. I mean, Metal Gear is about stealth, but it's not like hiding passively.
Right? Yeah, that
you
you're
have a forward
actively
momentum.
accomplishing
Yeah.
things. Yeah.
It's I don't know if it's about so much about stealth. It's a lot about deception, stealth is deception, but I think like stealth is mostly hiding in the shadows, kind of waiting to make your move, kind of thing. And deception to me is more like toying with one side or the other, and which is why I like Texas Chainsaw, because like the victims can easily toy with the family by like, oh, we open this gate, but we're actually using that as a distraction, go to this other gate and all that. And like the teams that work together like are really hard to take down as the victims. And I feel like in Dead by Daylight, they did make that change where you can't just guard when you get hooked anymore, which is one of the reasons I stopped playing when I was getting into Dead by Daylight a few months ago. So they finally got rid of that you can't just sit there and guard somebody when they're on the hook anymore, as far as I know. But yeah, Texas Chainsaw, like you're kind of always on the move in that game because they force you to be on the move because like you're bleeding out the whole time because you've been hooked everything. So like you can survive, you keep healing yourself, but in general, like when you start taking damage and start bleeding, like eventually you're gonna tire out and die. So yeah, it's I don't know. I think it's out of Dead by Daylight or Friday the 13th and all that. I think it's been my favorite one of these asymmetrical horror games that I've played.
Dead, those kind of things.
Evil Dead's kind of its own thing. I feel like
that's
more of an
feels
action
more
game.
like a Left 4 Dead spinoff than a kind of Dead by Daylight spinoff.
Yeah.
Killer Clowns from Outer Space coming.
Yeah, I'm curious about that one, but not super excited for it. But yeah, the main reason I haven't started Prince of Persia is because at night I've been going to binge watch Yellowstone. I have been
Sheridan pilled.
I've been Sheridan pilled. I've really gotten into Yellowstone. I knew like Taylor Sheridan actually, basically started his acting career on Sons of Anarchy. Like that's where he got his first big break, and I never realized that until like I started reading up on Sheridan and all that. And he was one of the cops, and he ended up leaving the show because like basically he wanted more money, and they're like, no, you're not worth it. And then he's like, fuck you, and started writing his own movies. And I didn't realize Sicario was his very first movie. And then he did Hell or High Water and Wind River, and those all won awards and made him a lot of money. And then when I found this article last night that I was reading up on, I was like, just found a whole new respect for the guy because he straight up went to Paramount when they were looking to get shows onto their service. He'd originally pitched Yellowstone to HBO, and it was basically in development hell, and he had to get the rights back. And then he basically took it to Paramount, said, I want $90 to $100 million to make this show. You will have no creative oversight over it. I'm going to make the show I want to make, and I just want you to pay the bill. And they're like, okay. And now it's like one of the biggest shows.
Wow.
And he basically runs Paramount's streaming series. Like half of the streaming series on there are his shows, or he's executive produced them. Like, and now he's got a big office.
I guess there's no way to know, but like, are they doing well? Like, is
they
it
are
like
the
helping?
most popular shows?
Yellowstone's like the number one show in the world.
Popular show in America,
which
is funny. Because Yellowstone was not a streaming show. Yellowstone was terrestrial there is a Paramount network that is like Paramount, the TV channel, that is apparently a part of cable packages. And I don't know anyone who watched. No, it's been like that for years. Yellowstone is so far and away bigger than Succession. It's bigger than House of the Dragon. It's bigger than Andor. It's bigger than Last of Us. Bigger than any of those things. It is just so out. It is so in our blind spot. But like as these Sheridan shows have come to streaming services, like they've started to get bigger and bigger, and he's attracted, Jeremy Renner and Mayor of Easttown, and he's got more
like Special Ops Lioness. Morgan Freeman's in that show. He's got like all the A-list actors under his belt now.
Isn't it like Nicole Kidman, Zoe Saldana?
Yeah, Nicole Kidman's. Yep. So yeah, I don't know, just a huge respect for the guy, and like he's a real life cowboy, and he like straight up said, I want to make shows that I like resonate with me and the stories that I know, and he's like, all right, and Paramount's like, okay, we'll give you a blank check.
Real life cowboy.
Yeah, he's a real life cowboy. So
I want to hear about that story.
He all the shit out of his ranch.
Yeah, well, he actually just in 2022. Because I've been watching Yellowstone, I was like curious. I like to Google like, what is the biggest ranch in the U.S. now? And one of them it's down in Texas. 1 second, it's 666 Ranch.
That sounds like a scary ranch.
It's a ranch down in Texas that used to be called the 4 Sixes Ranch, and Taylor Sheridan himself bought it for like $350 million. And now it's like the location of some of Yellowstone's filming, and it'll also be the location of a prequel show that he's working called 666.
There's some of the rumors. So Costner's just done with Yellowstone. He's like, I'm not doing this anymore. And so they're trying to figure out like, what are we gonna do? Like he's the main character of this biggest show.
Yeah.
And there's been scuttlebutt. So they introduced the Texas into Yellowstone, and everyone's like, why? It's weird. This is like Yellowstone. Why are they introducing Texas? And the thought, Costner's going to go out, they're going to move the show to Texas, and Matthew McConaughey is going to become the star. Because apparently he's pals with Taylor Sheridan. So that is what the thought is, that Matthew McConaughey is going to make his TV return since True Detective season 1 on whatever. If Yellowstone is still called can you have a show called Yellowstone that takes place in Texas? That seems illegal. That's not where Yellowstone is. You can't do that.
Yeah, no, if you
like a basketball team.
But yeah, if you like Sons of Anarchy, like I think you would really like Yellowstone. Like, and I knew there were like some like controversy around the shows, like for conservatives and all that. Is like it's not that at all. It's very much against
conservatives
corporations.
Love it, but I don't think it is for conservatives.
No, it's not for conservatives at all. It's got strong women actors in it and everything. Like it's a really good show.
That would just sound like a bad show if it was like for
the show is not at all.
I've seen what they pass as movies.
Yeah, no, the show is not at all
produced movies. Lady Ballers.
Yes.
Yeah, the show isn't like
that's for conservatives. That's what that means.
Yeah.
The show doesn't like guns. Not like there's not as much. It's really more of like a soap opera than like people just murdering each other all the time. Although there's quite a bit of murdering, but tends to be the things for these. But
Taylor Sheridan is a like on top of just that show, just Taylor Sheridan in general is a big blind spot for me. Like there was a time where I was like, I'm gonna start Sons of Anarchy, and then before I got a chance, I'd heard that it didn't end great, and so I was like, all right, maybe I shouldn't bother.
Sons of Anarchy?
Yeah.
I don't know. People were kind of divided on the ending. I loved it.
Yeah, maybe I'll start there and then work my way back at some point.
Backwards.
Yeah, and somebody Speakeasy said that Taylor Sheridan is making a Bass Reeves adaptation. It's already out.
Yeah, I saw commercials for that.
Yeah, it looks really good.
Casey, what have you been watching?
I finished season 1 of Granblue Fantasy, the anime adaptation of that big ass mobile game franchise from Psy Games. I was already curious about it after like going to the press event for Granblue Fantasy and Granblue Fantasy versus Relink and all that stuff. But I got even more curious after playing versus Rising, because like that fighting game is actually like very good. Like I kind of still think about it. Like I kind of want to go back and play more of it. And honestly, it's very inoffensive. Like I don't like it's not great, but it's not bad. Like it's far from bad. Like it has good animation. I like the characters, like they're well designed, but that's a given because like they're from a freaking game where you collect characters. Its story is very similar to One Piece in pacing, not necessarily in like content, because it's kind of doing a kind of generic fantasy thing. Like, oh, we're traveling around on an adventure with a party, but that party just happens to be in a ship, but that ship just happens to be an airship. So it's like this. It's like they're like remixing every little thing of all these other things that have existed and have been popular before. So like, if you can get over the kind of the sameness of that conceit, it's not bad. Like, it's got good action scenes and stuff in it. But it's like I really can't. It's kind of a thing to watch. Like it's good background noise, I guess you could say. But I did enjoy it. And like one thing that I thought was kind of weird / funny is the games, all of the games operate under the idea that like the main character is digital. Like there's a guy named Gran and then there's a woman named Jita. And the story functions the exact same whether you're playing the guy or the girl. Like they consider them the same person as far as the franchise is concerned. But season 1 of the anime is all Gran until the very last episode, the 13th episode, which is sort of a bonus episode. And it's the stock anime beach episode. That's the only episode where Jita is the character. And like they kind of tell you this kind of abridged version that says like, oh, from the beginning, this is all the things we did on our journey. And like it recaps kind of what happened in the season you just watched, except they sub a couple of male characters for extra female characters that you're like, okay, they came across that character, but in this version, they joined the party versus whatever they went and did. So it's just a blatant excuse to get more female characters in bikinis. And
well done.
It's so it's so overt that I kind of love it.
Yeah. I like there's a shamelessness in it that I'm like, this is good.
Yeah, like it's super shameless.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really funny. But I think season 2 is on Crunchyroll. Season 1 I had to like go in the ether to find. So I'm going to start
Mhm.
season 2 probably next and see if they improve on anything because I think that came out quite a bit later than season 1. Season 1 was like in 2017.
Do you know how many like has this been like is there like a billion episodes or is this relatively
No, it's
contained?
pretty short. Yeah, season 1 was just the 12 plus the bonus episode, and season 2
Yeah.
I think is about the same length. I'm not
Okay.
100% sure, but I'm pretty sure it's about the same length.
Okay, so it's not like a crazy 500 episode commitment or anything.
Yeah, nah, nothing like
Yeah.
that.
I had no
They're
idea
still
that
they're
this
still
was
trying to
all
find their footing.
I had no until I edited your piece, the written piece you had for Granblue Fantasy, Pack the Escapist a few months ago. I had no idea, like, I'd known its name, but I just didn't know how any of this.
Right.
I was like, I just assumed it was like an anime first, and then a game adaptation, and I wasn't sure what, and so I didn't realize it all spawned from a super super popular mobile game.
Yeah, like that mobile game made them so much money that they're like, this brand has got legs, and like
Yeah,
they're putting it everywhere that they can, and like they're making really good decisions with
yeah,
how they do that. Like the transmedia versions of that franchise are good times.
yeah.
The anime is probably the weakest of them, but it's not bad. Like it's not a bad anime by any stretch of the imagination. It's just kind of there's a lot of other better ones.
We on the Persona stream over the weekend, we were with Amy talking about Genshin. And I
Mm.
feel like the same thing's going to happen with Genshin and like
Yeah,
UFO
because that's gonna get
Tables
an
working on
adaptation
an
soon.
anime. Yeah, and UFO Table,
Yeah.
they're the folks who
Oh,
do
more Paimon.
more Paimon. Yeah, you got to love that Paimon.
Oh,
But that, I feel like Genshin could be one of those things, even like League of Legends, to where like you could have a single player Genshin game, like you could have a Genshin fighting game. Like I feel like it's going
Yeah,
to be
you
one of those
100%
things
could.
where like that's going to become just a franchise and not just a game.
Yeah, because Genshin even more so than Granblue, like they have a good ass story. like
Yeah, yeah.
like their characters look really cool, which is always like that's gonna get an anime fan's attention. Is like that's just a cool looking anime character. Like I wonder
Mhm.
what their deal is, and then when you actually learn the deal, it's like oh, that's actually a very interesting story. Boom, you're hooked.
And it's like it's a big deal because it's UFO Table, and they've done nothing but they're the guy team who does Demon Slayer, and
Yeah,
that's
they've
what
done like
they've
the
been
Fate
doing the last
series,
like
like
5 years.
yeah, like they are phenomenal
Yeah,
animators, especially for like
it,
combat stuff. So,
and so
whew,
for
that's
them
gonna be crazy.
to go from Demon Slayer to be like, which is arguably one of the biggest anime on the planet, probably for them to be like, all right, this is what our next thing is going to be. We are going
Mm.
to take the reins to Genshin. As someone who doesn't even play Genshin, I'm like, that's pretty cool. I'm excited. I'll definitely watch that when it comes out.
I'm pretty excited for that Relink game. It just looks fun. But I'm also the developer is Psy Games, and I'm waiting for them to get Relink out the door so I can see more of what the hell that Project Awakening game was that they teased all
Yeah.
those years ago.
Yeah. It's I think Relink is coming out at a bad time because every game right now is coming. Sega, what are we doing? We need to have a sit down with Sega and be like, why are you releasing Yakuza and Persona within like a week and a half of each other, and why are you releasing both of them like 3 weeks before Final Fantasy VII comes out? Like, what are we doing? Like, why didn't we move these other places?
They gotta get them out before Suicide Squad because that'll be a massive hit.
I'm gonna play Suicide Squad. I
Oh,
think.
I'm gonna play it too.
I'm gonna play it too.
Oh no,
like
we're all
I
playing
kind
it.
of
And that's one of those games that I'm hoping it's like just better than it looks.
yeah, same.
The developers I feel like are like, please, like there's so much story content. We put more story content, and Warner Bros. Is like, look, loot, gear scores, all that stuff you love to hate.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's been a lot of mixed opinions on that game. Like Skillup said he likes Suicide Squad, and I'm like, that was the last person I was expecting to say that he enjoyed it.
Yeah, the story came out today too about 100 Star Games, which is the new studio by the founders of Rocksteady who left in 2022, I think. And so they have this studio called 100 Star Games, and their whole thing is they're only going to have 100 employees, and they say it's going to be a mix of veterans and relatively like new blood with a lot of potential.
Was that not the exact same idea of that episode of Succession where Rome and his brother and sister teamed up to spin off their own media thing?
Oh God,
That's literally what it's like. It's called the 100. We're gonna have 100 experts in this field and that field and that. That's hilarious.
What if they get to a point and they're like, we are in desperate need of one more person, but we have to fire someone. Like, we need to fire someone.
Time to go quit and form 101 stars.
101, exactly.
Oh my god, that's hilarious.
And then
Yeah,
Disney's like, no, you can't have that because that's our number for 101 Dalmatians.
we only allow that in Kingdom Hearts. That's it. Cool. Yeah, and then outside of Prince of Persia, I've been spending most of my time with Final Fantasy VII Remake, which is very good. Still very good. Very emotional. I'm seeing the padding in certain areas. Certain chapters have a lot of side quests that are kind of bad, in my opinion. And by doing them all, I'm doing them all because I have a head injury, as we discussed. I'm like, this is just, the game didn't need to be this long. However, when the game is great, the game is like capital G great. I think it is like genuinely emotional. It has an incredible sense of place and character. It's big set pieces like really hit for me, and it makes me all the more excited to get to Rebirth next month. That's probably my most anticipated game.
Next soon.
Yeah, comes out on Leap Day.
January is flying past.
That's why they shouldn't Yakuza and then right afterwards Persona, and then you got Granblue in there, the Susie Side Squad. It's too much.
Susie Side Squad.
Susie Side Squad. If I was named Susie, I would call my party Susie Side Squad.
At least Sega isn't Square Enix. But like, this game has to say 10 million copies of his success.
Speaking of Square Enix and speaking of our main topic, I'm probably going to buy a physical version of Final
Stars.
Fantasy, not to play, because I'm going to buy it digitally right when it comes out, but because they said it's coming on 2 discs, and that excited me.
You and 2, stop it.
when they use,
whenever you go to McDonald's and they're like, "Can you get 2 Big Macs?" You're like, "Yeah, I just need that second Big Mac, but I'm not going to eat it. I'm just going to throw it in the trash."
I just want you pick 2.
That's just that's
just a waste.
You wrote a whole thing back in the day on the 2-disc mythos.
And that was such an exciting thing back in like the PS1 era, being like, damn, this RPG's on this game's on 2 discs, this game's on 4 discs. Like, that's 4 discs of games. That's like 3 times the game as these other games.
More game.
Yeah.
Because
It's so much game.
You're still gonna have to download that disc.
I'm not even gonna put that disc in. That disc is just, I'm just gonna look at it.
That's just for cuddling.
It's just for cuddling. I'm gonna turn that. I'm gonna put that disc into a waifu pillow. It's gonna be the beating heart of my Rebirth waifu pillow.
That's honestly, like, if you really do care about all this preservation stuff.
Perversion.
If you really care about all this preservation stuff, that is actually the answer. You buy it digital and you buy it physical. You get
and
both.
Then you don't open the physical copy, so it retains all of its value.
Like, you break that in case of emergency.
You know what? If you really care about physical media,
I have a lot of unopened physical games.
You really care about physical media? Find a way to cheat death. Huh? Become immortal. Big shot. Prove that you care about your collection.
Yahtzee will not let that happen. Yahtzee hates the word immortal.
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah, as a title. Become never dead. A game you can't get digitally.
Be unalive.
Yeah, there you go. I think that about wraps it up for us. We did great. Look at that. We came in under 2 hours. Oh my god, I'm so proud.
Well done, all.
We have the party doesn't end tonight though. I mean, the party's done for tonight. Everyone has to go home tonight.
Yeah, I was like, what else are we doing today?
No, the party doesn't. The party is done. However, the party continues. Tomorrow we got a trio of streams for you from 2 to 3 Central. Special stream. Nick and I. Casey, you're invited too, but I think you got to work during it. During
what time is this?
2 p.m. Central is the developer direct. So
3
p.m.
45 minutes.
We can figure that out tomorrow.
I can take lunch.
In the morning.
He's just going to yell about Perfect Dark not being there, even though it's
already mentioned. Joanna? Where's the Data Dine Institute? We're going to be doing a live watch along right here on the main channel to the Xbox Developer Direct. We're going to see more Avowed. So the rumors came out about the Hellblade release date.
May.
Should we just save it? Oh, fucking Nick. Yes, it was May. It was May. And then Indiana Jones.
Did I predict April or May?
I don't remember. I feel like you said March. You said something crazy like March, which is also an end month.
March, May, yeah, same thing.
Those are several months away. Those are 2 months away.
Not
yeah, we'll be doing that. Shoot the shit. Nick's gonna be back at 4 p.m. Central an hour later, so then Nick can have a little break. He'll be shooting the shit. Do you know what you're gonna play yet?
Yes, Jimmy and Frost and I will be back playing the finals again because people enjoyed that last week.
I guess it wasn't
And
final.
we enjoyed that.
Yeah, more like
It's the finals, so there's multiple.
There's a plural. They've pluralized finals.
It's
And
game
then
7.
tomorrow night, 7 p.m. normal time, KC and I will be back round 2 of Devil May Cry 3, which is good. It's just a good game.
Great game. Even.
You did it, Itsuno. I'm so proud of you. And remember, all those streams are going to be right here on the main channel. We are sunsetting the live channel for the time being, for the foreseeable future, forever. And all your streams are going to be here. We're deciding what's going to stay listed, what's going to be unlisted. If it is unlisted, it will still be easily findable in playlists. So pardon our dust as we get our footing, but I think this will be better for everyone. And then Friday, 12 p.m. At noon, the Star Trek Vagabond playtest, which will be great.
Yes.
It'll be our first chance.
You get to watch Jay roast Yahtzee and me take notes and laugh.
Yeah, this is. I feel like I'd be a little nervous if I was Yahtzee, even though
He said today on the stream he was nervous about it.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, it's
giving out his baby to be critiqued.
Yeah.
While I in the shadows work to get John Romero to do a fully romantic on his game.
What if Jamae makes him cry? That could be huge.
That's going on TikTok.
That could be huge. Eric, clip it. He's crying for TikTok. And then our regular weekend streams, 8 a.m. on Saturday will be Better with Friends, Frost and Will, playing Bang On Balls, I believe. And then on Sunday, newly released returns with Amy and Frost, and they'll be playing The Cub, which I'll be having a little part of a upcoming bite size will be on that as well. On my thoughts on that, which are pretty good. But there's one element I want to take apart from it. And speaking of bite size, Casey, I think you're gonna have a bite size tomorrow
morning at 10 a.m.
Yeah.
Look at you, a whole video.
Yeah, I still make those guys.
Yeah, he's all grown up.
He's all grown up. Making the same videos we've been making. Yes, that'll be cool. That'll be on Turnip Boy robs a bank.
Robs a bank. Yep.
Okay, I was gonna say
more crimes.
I feel like the crimes keep getting bigger, and I'm very concerned about the third game in this series. It was tax evasion, which is like a victimless crime. Robs a bank, which is I'm like, that's kind of pushing it. And this third one, I'm gonna be like, oh no, a war crime? Turnip Boy.
I mean, that is a definite escalation.
Yeah, you can't be doing that. What else do you have going on?
Outside of that, Friday, my fiance and I will return for more of our wedding stream. Our Big Fat Geek wedding is what we're calling it going forward. It's been fun so far. We'll figure out whether I need to dress as Wario or Princess Peach for our engagement photos. Other than that, Sunday, the Sigma show and Super Smash Sunday should be back. Like we've taken a month-long hiatus because of like holidays and events and whatnot. But we should be back running as normal next week on Sunday. So just follow the Twitter Sigma Gears 9 for any updates in that regard.
Cool. Nick, anything?
Business stuff and streaming and making sure we are ready to pay ourselves on the 1st of February. So go support the Patreon.
I was about to say you don't have to prove that you're working. I know that you're working. I was mostly like, is there anything they need to know?
Yeah, content wise, no. I'm thinking about what kind of content or videos I want to make for Second Wind. I want to get back into the creation aspect now that I don't have to do reports for executives that don't read them every week. Middle finger to somebody, but other than that,
get over your ex-dick.
Look, I could have made some cool stuff. I didn't have to waste all that time on paperwork. But yeah, just stay tuned for that. I want to bring back developer
videos.
I want to bring back developer interviews without feet and other stuff without feet. No feet. No feet. Feet are gross.
I concur.
We are losing so much money with that opinion. We are losing on so much money. And on that note, what a weird ending. Jesus.
Jumbly also asked about documentaries. Stuff is in the works. That's it. That's all I can say on that.
That's cool. You should make remember that Bulls documentary? You should make another one of those.
Bulls?
Yeah, Chicago Bulls, the 90s team.
Oh, they were trying to make
The Last Dance?
Yeah, you should make another one.
Oh, I thought you were trying to say like balls.
Balls? You can make a ball documentary too.
Balls,
that's fine.
Yeah. Frost has been playing a lot of ball games over on friend Ben.
Yeah, a couple ball games in a row.
He's playing another one this Saturday. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's just lots of ball games.
Yeah.
He's gonna bang on the balls. Fling to the finish was a ball game.
Hubba. Thank you all so much, as always, for tuning in to Firelink episode number 6. For Nick, for Casey, and for Eric behind the scenes. My name is Marty. Thank you all so much. As always, have a wonderful rest of your evening, and we'll see you tomorrow at 2 p.m. Central for the Xbox stream right here.
What a travesty of an end of a podcast.
Yeah, we fucked it up, guys. We were doing good. We fucked it up.
I thought it was great. You guys didn't give me back. When I gave foot, you didn't give back.
You got back goals. Should I do the soundboard now? Because you're going to leave anyway?
Just if I could leave. Then you could do the timestamps then.